DJI Mavic 4 Pro, latest updates. Got that coming up next. Bill the Drone Reviewer here. If you like the content of this video or anything on my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. With that, let's begin. The other night, I hosted Rotor Talk Live and was joined by Mr. Ron Braun. We spent the better part of the evening discussing all the latest regarding the DJI Mavic 4 Pro, including new pictures, possible specifications, pricing, release date, and so much more. So without any further ado, let's roll that clip in its entirety. We're going to get started with the Mavic 4 Pro, and the first thing that I want to talk about was, and I know somebody had mentioned it last night, they thought the release was delayed because they're seeing dates in June. And I know we touched on this last week, and I wanted to touch on it again. Now, what you're seeing out there, what they do out on the FCC database, whenever they file for these, to get these approvals from the FCC, what they do is they have put a confidentiality date around this, okay? From date X to date Y, okay? Like this has to be kept under wraps from date X to date Y. Once date Y has gone and passed, it can be available to the public, okay? That's what those dates that everybody is seeing, like in June, because people are saying, oh, no, it's June. No, what you're seeing is that date, that information has to be released, okay? Because what DJI does is, the FCC makes you do that is, you want to keep certain things under wraps. And a lot of the specs, a lot of the confidential things are kept under wraps until that Y date, that second date right there. And that's the date that everybody's seeing out there. So I wanted to clear that up because I know I had several questions. I had several people ping me on social media about that and said, hey, Bill, I'm seeing June out there, and I'm telling them that that's what that's for. So wanted to make you guys aware of that. That's kind of how that works with the FCC. And they,
good. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, this is not just for drones either. This is, for example, for like, ham radios have to go through this too. You guys know I have a ham radio channel. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they have to go through the same thing. Okay. And they have that X and Y kind of date when that information is out there and available and gets released. Okay. Like your basic pamphlets that you get with your drone. Okay. That's part of that information. Okay. And that's why that's kept under wraps until that date, or, where it gets released. And then once it gets released, that date is null and void. So it's gone automatically after that. So, okay.
Yeah. Right. Jasper is saying in the article yesterday, he still expects to see the teaser for the Mavic 4 Pro in the last week of April.
Yeah, I think I agree with him 100%. I think you're right, Ron. I think we'll go ahead and see that during that point in time here. Now, there were several articles out here, and I'm going to bring up the first one here. And this one was out on Drone DJ. This was from last week, but DJI Mavic 4 Pro is its release imminent, okay? Camera tilt and new roll control. There's no hiding it. Mavic 4 Pro is not a good-looking drone. To use Ellen's description, it looks like a security camera. All right. I would say it looks more like my church's PTZ live streaming cameras, but potato, that analogy doesn't really work here, does it? One big pro that's a massive eye, the ability to tilt its camera at high angles, okay? According to Ellens, the Mavic 4 Pro's payload will be able to tilt up to 10 degrees more than the Air 3 and Mini 4, totaling 70 degrees. Unlike the Mavic 3, this will likely help those who need to shoot above the drone. With a new security camera-like design, the rotors will no longer be in the way, it seems, for that to happen. Additionally, Ellen shares the Mavic 4 Pro might feature a new change control that is completely new, camera roll control. I think Ellens and I are both not entirely sure what that, why you might want manual control over the roll. However, it could give creative some room for even more unique shots. Ellen states the roll can go at least 175 degrees in each direction, but potentially it could be 360 degrees, meaning you can do a complete rotation going in one direction, okay? New product images, and we're going to get to those here in a minute. Charging upgrades, it supports up to 240 watts, which we talked about last week, and will feature a parallel charging hub, which we talked about last week too. Now we're going to jump into a couple more articles, and then we're going to start.
Hey, Bill, before you go too fast, a minute I got back to this. You mentioned about the roll axis and them not knowing what it's for. Well, Bill Thomas found like a leak last week that talks about if possible. You know how the gimbals, whether you have the phone gimbal or the camera gimbal, they can do that thing where it rotates all the way around. they
Right.
think that the Mavic 4 Pro will do that too, that the camera will rotate all around and give you, it's got a name to it when it rotates all around, but it may have that feature like the camera gimbals have.
I think you're right. That sounds very plausible, Ron. Jasper Ellens shared right away at the end that his best source states the Mavic 4 Pro will be at least teased in the last week of April by DJI. This will likely come in the form of release event posted to social media. Last week of April is actually a half week, with April 30th landing on a Wednesday. This could mean DJI will tease the event on that Monday, with a release coming Thursday, May 1st. But that's just a guess from previous events. The FCC filings have all been in place for some time now, leading many to sit and wait for any word on when the Mavic 4 Pro is coming. But so far, it's been quiet outside of leaks. Okay. When the leaks start to pick up, it's likely the details of the Mavic 4 Pro complete. We'll soon get full specs, pricing, and more from leakers in the coming weeks. Okay. We've already been tipped the new flagship drone will come with 2.5 and 6x zoom lenses, slightly less than what was on the Mavic 3 Pro. None of this is new, but seeing the same leak again strengthens its validity. Sadly, however, we don't have concrete evidence of what the equivalent focal lengths will be each of the cameras. The best guess we have is they will be 24 millimeters, 50 millimeters, and 145 millimeters, but those could change coming release. Usually we'll be able to tell if there are leaked images of the front of the camera payload come out. However, it doesn't look like that'll be the case this year. In recent images leaked by Igor, the payload's cameras don't feature focal length equivalents like previous models, okay? Now let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead on to the one that shows some of the pictures here. I wanted to get this one up here now. Okay.
Eddie put in a barrel roll. That's what you call that when it spins all the way around.
There you go. There you go. That's right.
They do a barrel roll like the gimbals. Thank you, Eddie.
That's right. Very good, Eddie. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Now these are some new pictures that just came out, and let's go ahead and get this up here. First DJI Mavic 4 Pro sample pictures and zoom test leaked out on TikTok. Okay. You can see right here, and I know you guys talked about this last night, 24x zoom. Now, the big question is, where does this change over, as far as, I think that's going to be a real key for people, for something like this. It's cool. It's good that you see a 2.5 step, which is very interesting here. But I think, and you would agree, Ron, the big point is, when does this change over?
How much of this is digital and how much this is optical or lossless, however you want to say it. And you remember Mavic 3 Pro, at every camera stop, like say 1x, whatever, 3x, 7x, like that was optical. But once you zoomed up one notch, it was digital.
Right. And that's
three different focal lengths.
Yeah, and see, that's going to be the real, we're not really going to know until, even with the leaks, we're probably not going to even be able to tell. Like when we see the sides of the box and things like that, we're probably not going to find that information out until it actually gets released. I think that's one of those things that I think we're kind of stuck on. And here's some more images here with that. You can see right here, it's cropped.
I mean, they zoomed in. They look good right there, Bill.
Yeah, they do. These images do look very good, and they're very sharp and they're very clear. So, I'm thinking it's going to be higher than the Air 3, obviously, or, we just don't know at this point in time. But yeah, those are the, they did a zoom test right here with this, and that's actually pretty good from a distance in the fog. That's looking really well there. Now, one of the other pictures that we saw out there today, one of the other articles out there today, and I wanted to talk about this here as well too. And here we go. Now, in conjunction with this, DJI Mavic 4 leaked with canceled DJI RC track part 2, okay? And I know you guys talked a little bit about this last night as well, too. Why would DJI cancel leaked product weeks before launch? Short answer, some things happen, and they declined to pull it, but we'll push it as a DJI Mavic 4 feature. In the series I'll explain everything secret about the RC track story. This is the second of 3 articles about the secret beacon DJI is developing in the background to accompanying their superior drones, okay? And he gets into a whole explanation on this. A DJI RC track will safely work with a DJI Mavic 4 Pro. Why it was canceled, it said things didn't go as planned, drone crashes, and people didn't feel safe using the DJI RC track. This coming from people who are used to getting products that are essentially beta testing objects they have to figure out before they get approved for the public here. DJI RC track on hold for the Mavic 4. Unofficial reason to pull the plug, safety reasons. DJI asked all RC track units to be returned and the product went back to development phase. Although people were disappointed to find out the beacon wasn't coming in October, DJI has sorted out the safety issues and now expected to link this new remote to their Mavic 4. Let's dive a bit deeper into the leak here, and okay, and I'll let people read this at their leisure here, Ron. But one of the things that I kind of want to drive with something like this is independent of the release of the Mavic 4 Pro. Okay, obviously, this is something that they can have plenty of time to be able to test something like this because it's not an integral part of the Mavic 4 Pro. It's something that could come 3, 4, 6 months down the road and be available for something like this. And I think they're being very judicious and very wise in getting this out there and getting it tested because it's kind of like, it kind of gives some autonomy to the Mavic 4 Pro. And, from having the Skydio too, having the beacon with something like that, you want to make sure that something like this works and it's not going to pose a hazard or cause problems or, when something, the fail-safe, that it returns to a home point or something like that, Ron.
Mm-hmm. No. I mean, you don't want to release this until it's 100% ready to go. So I mean, everybody wanted to see, it was rumored to come out alongside the Air 3S. But again, just as you pointed out, if it wasn't 100% ready to go, I'm glad they did cancel it.
Yeah. And that was a smart move. And, you have to weigh the benefits of things like that. And obviously, they are taking safety into account. And it's really good to see something like that because a lot of manufacturers will push boundaries as far as safety is concerned and, put a product out there when it probably shouldn't have gone out there. So kudos to DJI for doing this, pulling it back and saying, look, it's not really, it's like putting a casserole in the oven and it's not baked all the way. Okay. Your chicken needs to be 165 degrees. Everybody knows that. So we're not up to temperature yet. So I think that's a good thing as far as that's concerned too. So one of the things,
plus a company like DJI, another company releases, they may not care, but since DJI kind of wants you to get care refresh or anything, if you get this RC track and your drone starts crashing, DJI is going to have to replace them under the care refresh program.
Yep, exactly here. Now I got some more pictures here and this was out on Jasper's Twitter account. So I just went out to Twitter here and I want to go ahead and share these as well. Now what he did was with these 2 pictures here, we're going to kind of blow this one up here. On the top is a Mavic 3 Pro and on the bottom is the Mavic 4 Pro. So you can get a difference in terms of comparison as far as size is concerned. Kind of doesn't surprise you that the size, that it's bigger. Obviously, it's going to be bigger, But I think the thing for a lot of us is seeing that gimbal. It's kind of like, and you realize it, and you kind of get a perspective on this too, Ron. That a quarter of the gimbal on the Mavic 3 Pro. A quarter of the drone covers the gimbal area, okay? Whereas there's no overhang on the Mavic 4 Pro. It's all out there by itself. So,
that's why you get all those angles, going up, whatever, down because of not having the frame around it. So, but Bill, does it bother you that the Mavic 4 Pro is going to be even a bigger, heavier with a bigger front gimbal than the current Mavic 3?
No, that's not, that part's not going to bother me. And even the aesthetics of it, because I know a lot of people calling it buff, big, ugly, and fat, kind of, using that moniker. No, none of that really bothers me, Ron. I mean, aesthetics wise, DJI's made a lot of what I consider very good looking drones. I really like the original Mavic Air, the way it looked. I thought that was a good looking drone. They've done some good things. The Air 3 is a good looking drone. A Mavic 3 Pro is a good looking drone. But you know what, Ron? I don't buy a drone for its looks. Okay.
Yeah. The looks don't bother me, but like when I like to travel, I don't like to take a real big drone. I don't really, the Mavic 3 was a big enough size. I'm not really looking for a bigger drone than that, especially when I want to travel and put it in a camera bag. It's not necessarily a drone bag. When I travel, I may want to take a camera bag that holds all my gear, not just drone gear, and increasing in size. Isn't something that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly here. And you can take a look here. There's a close up of the cameras here, and what a contrast. Okay. If this is to scale, is what it is, that gimbal is huge compared to the Mavic. The Mavic 4 Pro's gimbal is huge compared to the Mavic 3 Pros. I mean, it really kind of dwarfs that. And, having that freedom and that capability for that, I think it's kind of the sky's the limit, no pun intended, as far as creativity regarding your shots on the Mavic 4 Pro. It's going to be very interesting to see how DJI pushes these boundaries, Ron, especially, with firmware updates coming, really, truly, it could be a 360 camera. I don't see any reason why it couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
unless
yeah. Do you expect a big jump in photo and video quality over the Mavic 3 Pro?
I do, and the reason that I do is this. I'm thinking these are to scale. I mean, we're looking at it. Not that the Mavic 4 Pro is, it is physically bigger, but if you look at the lenses, the three lenses that you're able to see here, each one of them is bigger than the ones on the Mavic 3 Pro. Okay, and a bigger lens is always a good thing, I think. The rule 101 in photography, the more the bigger your lens, the more light that comes in. The more light that comes in, I think the better your quality of pictures and video is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, going by, just that rule of thumb right there from photography and videography 101 lends itself to that camera being better. And also to the freedom that camera is going to have compared to the Mavic 3 Pro. I mean, I love my Mavic 3 Pro. I love the video and the stills that I've been able to take with that. But if this gives that kind of freedom to be able to take just some incredible shots from incredible angles, that's going to be a game changing, Ron.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting. And like you said, but a little bit earlier, I mean, we haven't got to where we get the real good leaks. Like when we start to see the box and we start to see some of the camera specs and even specs about speed and whatever, we know we're getting down to the last week or two.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing here, and I'm just completely conjecture on my part. I don't know if this will be true or not, but I think DJI is probably really trying to push, and we talked about this before, is being able to get these in on pallets, because the way, for example, like the Air 3 came in, they sent pallets of the Air 3 overseas to the United States. And what happens is, as far as customs is concerned, there's just a barcode on the outside of that pallet or that container that contains these hundreds of drones in there. Okay. And all I got to do is scan that one, and that's it. Okay. Whenever you're doing that. Conversely, if you're shipping them over from mainland China one at a time, each one of them has to go through customs here. So, there's that type of delay. I'm hoping and I'm praying that maybe, DJI has worked things out with the government, to show them, look, we don't have forced labor. These are all made either in Malaysia or Shenzhen. There's no Uyghurs involved with this. These are people who, it's their job. They're doing this. That's part of what their profession. That's what they do, is they assemble these drones. If they've gotten some type of an agreement with them, they can get them over here in pallets, that we won't have this issue as far as customs is concerned. Now, I know different people have had different, results with this. I know, for example, Marcus, he had no problems because West Coast. Okay. I know I didn't really have a problem, and mine did come through Miami. I know, however, though, several people did have problems with drones coming through Miami. And of course, that's a high traffic point as far as, checking things is concerned, because obviously, it's near Cuba. It's, it's a pipeline to South America and drug cartels and who knows what. And, we want to make sure, they want to make sure, and I get it and I understand that. Okay. But I think in this instance here, they've shown beyond the shadow of a doubt, who their labor force is. They're not enslaved. So I'm hoping, because that's been the main issue as far as customs is concerned. So if they've gotten past that, they can get pallets of them in here. We're not going to have that issue, Ron.
Well, what you're saying, don't go back to, normal, whatever, rather than what we've had for the past couple of releases. And the flip just got released. When did the flip come out? End of January, right? And it's
Right.
still,
End of January.
the flip was on pallets. So we're about maybe 2 months later than that now. So let's hope something's changed.
Yeah. And Josh brought up a good point as far as it being more streamlined in shape could help the footage even smoother in wind or in high speed. And also too, I'm going to add this ventilation capabilities for it, allowing that to cool off. I think that'll help as well, because obviously, with all these, probably it's going to have beefed up specs, and it's going to generate a lot of heat, and it's going to need the ability to cool down while in flight. So I think, this is also going to help for this too. So, what a lot of people are considering, not aesthetically pleasing, or, or they call it the buff, big, ugly, fat kind of thing. It may be, really in essence is exactly what this type of drone needs in order to function well, and to be able to cool down properly, and to be more aerodynamic. And also too, and I know, Marcus had mentioned something about wanting to see this drone go over 60 miles an hour naturally. That would be wonderful if that does that, if it has that kind of capability.
Yeah. That would be. Yeah. The overheating thing, with drones, because unlike action cameras, drones are moving quickly and they're getting a lot of air in there. So you don't see a lot of overheating when drones actually fly. Most people see overheating issues with drones when it's sitting on their desktop in a house with no windows open, and they're doing a firmware update that takes a long time. That's when the overheating occurs, not actually when you're flying, especially, I mean, you're in Florida, Bill, so you fly in heat more than the rest. But a lot of us, we fly more in cold than we do heat. And I mean, I could, up in Jersey, I could fly my drone for a full battery, bring it down, and pack it right in a case. I don't even have to let it cool down. It's not the least bit warm because of the cold, windy air. It keeps it basically, surface temperature the whole flight.
Well, see, I can tell you with the Mavic 4, with the Mini 4 Pro, it did overheat on a couple of occasions, but I had it sitting. I was flying a second flight, and it was sitting on the pad because I was getting my B-roll. I was downloading my B-roll and getting it ready to go. And it was, as it was sitting there, I got the notification it was getting hot. So what I did was I took it out and I put it in my truck for about 5 minutes. Okay. And then even without the air conditioning on, just in the shade, it was enough to cool it down to where it could be able to take off again, because because of that small drone, it needs to move. It needs to get that air run through it even more than the bigger drones like the Air 3S or the Mavic 3 Pro, or in this instance, the Mavic 4 Pro. So you can't do that. And you're right. The only other time I've ever noticed it is if I'm doing a long firmware update and it's sitting on my desk. And what I do in that instance, I get out one of my small portable fans that I have here, and I throw it on there. So there won't be a problem with that.
Yeah, definitely. Intel Maxwell wrote, it said, one impact at speed, that camera will implode in a crash. Better get DJI Care refresh. It's always wise to get DJI Care refresh, but he makes a good point that sometimes the camera is under kind of the hood there. It's kind of for protection. This one, I mean, other drones, I think the Paranafi kind of stuck out there too, like that. So this is the first drone where the gimbal's kind of just been kind of all out there. But again, it's where your pluses and minuses is maybe a minus is not protected, but a plus means you have greater camera movement. So everything comes at a cost, right, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, with this, you have to look with the pluses and the minuses. And I think in this instance, the pluses outweigh the minuses. But yeah, he's right. In something like this is something you shouldn't even think twice about getting Care Refresh. And I would get the 3 year. I would just go for it automatically for something like this, because I think, while you're going to have incredible obstacle avoidance with this, and I'm sure, that's one of the features that we're going to talk about when we find out more about it. Will even with that, if in the unlikely event something does go haywire and it does crash, okay, that gimbal's going to be toast. Okay,
Yeah,
there's no question
yeah.
about it. So you're
Right.
going to want to have that protection and have it with you. And I can tell you, after having used it myself, okay, they are incredible with it, and they are also very fast with it as well too. That people may think that they're
Yep.
slow about things, but they are really fast with it.
It
And
works
one of
well.
the things that I want that I and Ron, I have to preach this, like nobody's business here, but you have to be kind to these guys, okay? You can't go spouting off at the handle when you're talking to DJI support, especially if you're trying to get Care Refresh enacted on your drone, okay? You want to treat them just like a family member that you love, okay? That's how I'll put it to you that way, okay? Be nice to them, because I'm telling you what, you'll get it. It'll pay back dividends to you. So every time I have been nice to them and have killed them with kindness, okay, sometimes I didn't get what I want, but in most instances I do. And with that, okay, I asked them as far as turnaround is concerned, they will do it. And it was like a day or two ahead of time when I did that. So, so that's one of the things that I have to emphasize is you guys have to be nice with them. Don't go flying off the handle with them, because it's going to do you wrong. And that's whether you're talking to them on the phone or chat, or email. Okay. Be very careful how you approach a situation like that with them, because you want to get that drone back ASAP. Kill them with kindness. It's always worked for me. I've never had an issue with that. Okay.
Hey, Bill, in the chat, Dr. B's asking any guess on the price, guys?
Well, I'm thinking, with this thing, tripped out, looking for the Mavic 4 Pro Fly More combo with a DJI RC Pro 2 with the screen and everything. Okay, you're probably going to be, you're probably going to be at least 3,500, I would think. Okay, but now this is the Mac, what I would call the Mac Daddy. Okay, this is all the bells, all the whistles, all the options, everything. Not the Cine. We're talking the Pro. But I think you're going to run about $3,500. I think a base kit, you're probably going to run I'm thinking about $2,700 for a base kit with like a battery and something like the R1N1 controller. Obviously probably an R1N2, whatever that model number would be. Step up from that. I think just a basic kit is probably going to run. I think you're probably going to span a gap of maybe about $2,750 to about 3,500. That kind of sounds in range, and kind of bumping it up a little bit, because in terms of features and specs and performance wise and what you're going to be getting from it, Ron. So, and with that too, and I know you guys have been asking that as well too. One of the things, Josh, and I really do think there is going to be a new Pro controller with this. If DJI is the last time, when they came out with the original one, that was when the Mavic 2 Pro and Zoom came out. So I think they're way overdue for a new controller.
Yeah, and somebody just today, one of the leakers had a picture, like a close-up picture of the supposed Pro controller with the one where the screen kind of like pops out at you. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's
But
what
Bill,
we'll
let me
see.
just throw my guess. I've been hearing that some people think that maybe a base kit will start at $25.99 for the Mavic 4, like just drone, one battery, and standard controller. So that would be, that would probably be really good if that happened. Because
I agree.
that only knocks up about $300, $340 more than the Mavic 3 and the 3 Pro right now price. But Bill, can you imagine how much a battery for this thing's going to cost? Just buy
The
an extra
battery's
battery.
probably gonna be maybe 225, 250. Because it's gonna be Ron, it's gonna be almost an hour, in terms of flight time with that, and they're gonna charge a pretty penny for it. Now I'm gonna go, and
And
I know
you may only need 2 batteries.
that's true. That's very true. Because I know Michael Wright, and I think he may have said it on your show, and he may have said it on our show. Now, I'm not sure if he's in the chat or not, but I know, with something like this, taking everything into account, you should prepare yourself that this may be the last drone you get for like 3 or 4 years, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So you would want to go ahead and buy those batteries, okay, and make sure that there's a good parallel charger. And and this is something I would also look at too. Look at these aftermarket parallel chargers, because the one that I just tested for the Air 3S and for the Spectre Air, it has a feature for long-term storage. It's digital, and you could hit it to 60%. So you can store these batteries in long-term storage for something like that. You would probably also want to look at seeing something like that for a Mavic 4 Pro, because that one with the digital readout for the Air 3 and the Spectre Air, Ron, that is a fantastic charger. I was just so pleased with that, and that's something I highly recommend to people. Okay, it's for the Air 3, Air 3S, and Spectre Air. It works for all those batteries there, and I think with something like this, being that this might be the last drone we might see for like 3 or 4 years, you might want to go out and do that. Get those batteries, get props as well. I think props might be available, but batteries may be a concern. So, as many as you can afford, go out there and get them. But and also too, what you need to do with that, conversely, is making sure that you store them for long-term storage as well too. And you also want to throw them in your rotation. All right. You don't want to have them just sit in long-term storage. But let's say you get 6 batteries. One weekend you fly battery 1, or Saturday you fly battery 1, Sunday you fly battery 2. Next weekend you fly battery 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and keep rotating them in and out. You need to do something like that if you're gonna have a lot of these batteries, and you probably want to run it down a little bit. In other words, you want to get it to maybe about maybe 30% battery left. So you're gonna have to fly some long flights. But this is just conjecture and speculation and all that kind of good stuff on my part. So,
Yeah.
all right. So now, it's football time. All right. Those of you, if you want to sign off, you're more than welcome to sign off. Okay. Ron and I are going to spend 5 minutes talking about all the latest
Steeler Nation, folks.
Steeler Nation here going on here, because there's a lot of drama going on about that. And Joe Flacco, who was for many years considered public enemy number 1 in Pittsburgh. All right.
Oh yeah, with Ravens, yeah.
With the Ravens, he threw that interception that propelled them to the last Super Bowl that they won. Polamalu made that famous interception, pick 6 interception against Flacco and ran it back. He worked for the Browns when the Browns had him for a season. Okay.
Just 2 years ago, he put the Browns in the playoffs.
He sure did. He absolutely sure did. And why not for a year? Okay. Until they get this mess sorted out. And you know what, Ron? Okay. Aaron Rodgers is a drama queen. All right. You know what? Just say no to drama queens. All right.
Did you see Cam Hayward said, either he wants to come here or play or he doesn't. Cam didn't want to deal with all that he's come or not coming drama.
Well, my dad had a saying for that: either poop or get off the pot. And yeah, and that's my kind of attitude about something.
Well,
like
they say that Aaron really wants to play for Minnesota because they got a loaded offense, but Minnesota doesn't really want him.
Yeah, you know what? Fine. The only thing that I like about all this, though, and I'll say that, is that Aaron Rodgers gets head coaches fired. So if they do hire him, more power to them, because that might mean I finally might get my Christmas wish from a long time ago, is seeing Mike Tomlin coaching on somebody else's sidelines. Okay. Meaning, we can finally be done with him and move on. So,
well, I mean, Flacco's not a coach killer, but he's kind of, at least you won't have to worry about the 2-minute stuff or whatever, because Flacco doesn't have to look over at the coach and wait for Flacco knows they'll run 2-minute drill. He doesn't need the coach doing anything.
No. And I know Jaybird just posted Chasen Higgins re-signed with the Bengals, and I saw
big money.
I saw what they re-signed for. Okay, you won't be able to afford anybody else, Jaybird.
That's what they said. That they need help with defense, offensive line, and now they got all the monies in the quarterback and the receivers.
Yeah, and you're right. Okay, that's a good tandem right there. But you better pray your offensive line stays healthy. And
which you did not last year. Burrow got hit as much as anybody.
He did, and also Cincinnati's defense is porous. They're in a world of hurt. Okay, they'll score a lot of points, but they'll also give up a lot of points as well too. So we'll see. So Joe, refresh will probably about $400-$500. Yeah, I think Michael's right on that, as far as that's concerned. So.
Wow. So Bill, you said your 3,500 goes up to $4,000 now when you throw your Care Refresher in there.
Care Refreshing, yeah. You're gonna have to, boy. You better have more than 1 or 2 piggy banks ready to go for this when this release comes out. I'm telling you, it's gonna be crazy.
And the thing is, if you shoot all your piggyback on this, what if we're wrong? What if the other drones? What if the Mini 5 Pro comes out in some late summer, early fall, whatever? Now you don't have any money left for that thing.
Yeah, you're gonna be standing on the street with with your tin cup,
a jar,
jar. Donate for my Mavic, my Mini 5 Pro fund here. Yeah, do a GoFundMe. Yeah.
I socked all the money in. I'm still making payments on. I'm still making mortgage payments on my Mavic 4 Pro.
Yeah, get your Mavic 4 Pro mortgage loan here. So that's kind of where we're at. Question of the day: what did you think of DJI Mavic 4 Pro latest updates? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, it's a great day to fly.